Okay, so in a previous video, I mentioned making crystals, and just with using water and salt, like really pretty ones. And so I'm gonna just I'm gonna do a video right now before where I just show dissolving the salt in. And then a few days later after the water dissolves, I'm gonna show you the crystals that have formed. So this is just regular old table salt. I'm gonna dump some in there. And really what you wanna just make sure is that this is very hot water. I just microwaved it. You wanna make sure that as much of it, you can get as much dissolved in there as possible. So add a little, make sure that it all the way dissolves. And this isn't just a very small amount of water. And that's important because the water is gonna take a really long time to evaporate. Maybe like a week or 2 weeks or something. So you want to just make sure that you're using as little water as possible with as much salt as possible so that you can get some really nice crystal formation, but it just doesn't take forever. So I'm going to dissolve this. I'm going to leave it in a nice sunny spot for a while, and I will get back to you when the crystals have formed. So about 2 weeks have passed since I made my salt water solution and left this cup out for the water to evaporate, leaving the salt behind. And it's definitely not my best work here, but that might have something to do with the shape of the cup or the fact that the water was so hot that it formed, there was like steam around the inside there, which I think promoted some of the crystals to climb up the side, as you can see there. But I'm holding it up to the light. You can see that we got some really nice crystals in there. And if I actually hold it right up to my camera, you can see some of those pretty perfect cubes, especially in the top of the circle there. And if I wanted to do an extension on this activity, what I might do is try different salts. This is just with table salt, sodium chloride. You might try this with baking soda, see what happens. You might even try to add some dye, like food coloring, to see if that happens. And again, this takes quite a while for the crystal formation. So you want to just try to dissolve as much as possible of your salt in as little water as possible, because as you saw in the video, I had just a tiny bit of water there and it took quite a long time for the water to evaporate to get these crystals. So enjoy and send pictures of what you end up with. Okay, so a real world application or example of the crystal formation that you just saw in the video would be the formation of crystals in nature. Now I have some crystal samples here from actually the Herkimer diamond mine in Herkimer, New York. You can go there and get samples like this yourself. You can rent the tools and everything you need there. It makes for a nice day trip once everything opens back up. So the way that these crystals form, at least most crystals form in this way, but the Herkimer diamond specifically, they're not diamond, they're quartz. And the way that these formed were about 500 million years ago or so. Some calcium and magnesium carbonate sediments that came down from the Adirondack mountains got caught up in the stone in this area. And when mixed with the acidic waters, they were able to dissolve, and they get trapped in these little these porous regions or holes in the rocks that are called vugs. They would spin around in there and eventually settle down. And when the water evaporated, which took quite a long time, as you saw in the video, for my little salt crystals, even it took a couple of weeks. So with lots of time for that water to evaporate, you get these really beautiful crystals. That one is undisturbed in there, as you can see, still in the hole here with the vug. Then there's a number of smaller crystals around on this sample. There's another one down in a little hole there. A couple of other ones here. You can see these are those, they got that square shape, kind of like my crystals that I made in my little cup. Some smaller ones there. And then these are some pretty nice ones that's a good one. Excuse my calluses. See that one? That's a pretty nice one. But yeah, all of these formed in that same way, where you've got dissolved salts that over a very long period of time will form these crystals when the water is allowed to evaporate very slowly.